this video, we're going to talk about how to play drum grooves with your weak hand, which in my case is my left hand, and why that's so important, and also a technique to kind of get you playing that so that you can strengthen that hand and kind of do some fun stuff with it. Also, if you dig videos like these, please like and subscribe, and check out my book, Tactical Drumming Groove Survival Guide. I'll put a link to that in the description. Okay, so let's dig into this. So as I work with a lot of my students, we start getting into stuff, and they're like, hey, what about my left hand? And a lot of times we definitely play things that are dominant hand heavy, right? It's just easy to like start playing a rock groove or a swing groove or whatever you want with that dominant hand. But I want to jump into how to really shape and work your weak hand so that you can play it better. So I'm going to use a simple rock groove, right? Just, and I want to talk about some of the nuances that if I'm playing with my weak hand, what I'm going to do to make sure that I'm actually playing that with strength. I'm also going to use a shuffle to demonstrate this as well in a second. But the first thing I want to talk about is the same shape that you would use in like a rock groove on the right hand, you want to create with the left hand. What I mean by that is, if you'll hear, when I'm playing a rock groove, I'm actually putting accents, right, with my dominant hand to create that strength. So I'm going to do that same thing now with my left hand, creating those little accents, right? So I want to make sure that buck sound or that accent sound is there. Then I'm going to very simply just add that 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? You even notice at the very end of that I was a little uneven. Try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so the way I'm doing that is I'm making sure, just like when I play it with my right hand, it's nice and consistent, right? The same way. Then I'm going to add the bass drum, and I'm going to keep it really, really simple. Just bass drum on like 1 and 3, right? Just like I play a rock groove. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, with the right hand dominant. Now I'm going to try with the left hand, get my bucks going. 2 and 4, 1, 2, add the bass, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, one thing I do want to note, and of course, if you're not playing it quite at that speed yet because your left hand really is, well, lame, right? I want you to note that one of the most important things is what I call vertical alignment, right? A lot of people use this phrase, but basically everything lines up perfectly. So when you listen to me play my bass drum and my hi-hat, they sound like one. It's like one voice. Same thing here. You can hear the two different timbres. So even when I'm playing with my weaker hand, I want to make sure those things line up perfectly. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do, after I've got like the basics down, I'm going to take some of the maybe antics or ideas or phrases that I normally would do, and I'm going to add that for independence. So like, for example, say I go do, ga, right, in the bass drum. So using a regular rock groove with the right hand dominant. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the left, and that might throw you off a little bit because you're flipping everything over, right? And so to do that, you're just going to really slow it down and think about, just like when you learned it with the right hand a long time ago, you're going to sit there and you're going to play it slowly, right? You're going to make sure you go through each little methodical piece and each little point. The other thing I want to bring up, and this is very important, is that with the left hand, we don't use it as much, just kind of like our left foot, right? And because of that, we actually have to spend a lot more time perfecting this, especially if we want to play it in context with the group. So one thing I tell my students to do a lot of times, I say, hey, when you're playing with your group, right, you're just practicing, play with that left hand dominant, right? Just sit there and you're playing your groove. Right? Let the left hand do the work, or, you know, whatever it is that they might be playing, let them dig into the left hand, because in that setting, you know, no one's going to get really upset with you if you're screwing it up. Like, and if it's alive, you know, you might not take as much of a risk, but eventually you'll lead up to that point. So the more you play it with that hand, the better. One more time out for you.